Hi, everybody. This is Carell Cooper. Thanks for joining me tonight. I am joined by Anthony Iapoce, who is the Toronto Blue Jays hitting coordinator. How you doing, Anthony?
I'm doing pretty good.
Good to hear. Good to hear. Well, I'm sure you're getting ready to head down to spring training. Before we get into any specifics, since I run a Mets blog, why don't you give everyone that's listening out there a little idea about yourself and kind of what you do for the Toronto Blue Jays?
Well, I grew up in Astoria, Queens, and attended my senior high school, and from there I went to play baseball in college at Lamar University and played minor league baseball for 11 years, and started coaching with the Florida Marlins. I was with them for 4 years, and that's where I really learned a lot about preparing players for the big leagues. Was fortunate enough to be around some good players like Michael Stanton, Logan Morrison, Chris Coghlan, Gabby Sanchez. And I just finished my first season. I'll be entering this year as my second season as the hitting coordinator for the Toronto Blue Jays, which means I'm in charge of all the hitting from AAA on down to the Dominican. We got 7 minor league teams, one team in the Dominican, and you develop hitting plans for guys and making sure that you're there for them, and you got your hitting coaches to follow plans laid out to the guys. And you do some scouting, you go speak to the scouts before the draft, just give your input on certain players, on what we're looking for or what the organization is looking for. So it's the main thing is having a good coaching staff to run your plan throughout the organization.
Cool, cool, and I mean that sounds like a big task, something that's very exciting, though. But when you're trying to plan out sort of the philosophy, if you will, to implement across the Blue Jays farm system, do you try to look at it as from a system wide standpoint, or do you try to tailor your plan depending on the hitter?
Everything is pretty much individualized. What we try to do before we even get into a hitting philosophy with the organization is we just try to teach them to play the game. And we try to teach them to let the situation dictate what they're going to do. Obviously, when they first come in, some kids will have mechanical flaws, at the lower levels, and we start preparing them physically with tons of drill work and tons of reps, but still trying to get them to be what we call the professional at bat, patiently aggressive, telling them when to see pitches or when to be aggressive. There's no certain right way of, okay, this organization, they're going to swing at the first pitch, fastball, or this organization needs to see 5 pitches in that bat. The game is going to tell you what to do. So our biggest thing, what we're implementing is let the game dictate what you're going to do. But you have to teach that too. And after each game at the lower levels, the hitting coaches have meetings. We have hitters meetings. We do video. We do, PowerPoint presentations. I'll go into certain levels and talk to guys and hand out psychology. You just try to give the kids as many options as possible, and then let them decide to be a part of their own development. And you're basically trying to get out of their way and pick them up and not mess them up. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I hear you. And I've always kind of wondered, specifically with hitting coaches at the major league level, if they take a different approach to, say, someone who just came up and this is their rookie year versus, someone who's been at the big league level for, 5-6 years, if there's a different approach to kind of what you do in terms of being the coach for that. Can you maybe expand on that a little bit?
Yeah, our hitting coach is Dwayne Murphy. This is his second year with the organization. He was actually the hitting coach at Diamondbacks when they won in whenever the year was when they won. I forget when they won. He was a hitting coach. He's an unbelievable hitting coach. His knowledge of the game, the players love him. The adjustments he made with Batista and Hill and that whole lineup, they just love talking. He can get you mechanically, he gets you mentally, he gets you prepared for the game. With those guys, it's a little different from, say, coaching a guy who's got 1 year under his belt, who's worried about what time the buses are and calling home to his girlfriend or missing his family. And those are things that you have to deal with early in the minor leagues, and hopefully that my job is to get them prepared not only physically and mentally, but also how to handle stuff off the field, things like that, so that when they go to the big leagues, we don't want them to come back. That's the ultimate goal.
Right. Now, switching gears a little bit, Brad Emaus, who's now in the Mets system, used to be in the Blue Jays system. I know a lot of Mets fans are interested in him and seeing what he can do this spring. as someone who kind of knows Brad, can you describe the type of hitter that he is?
Brad, first, Emaus a professional guy. He's a good person first. He's a great teammate. When I was coaching with the Marlins, we actually coached him up as a second baseman, either as a utility type guy or an everyday guy, whatever option he might have when that time comes. We had wrote him up a few years ago on A-ball. But you know what you're getting when you put him in the lineup. You know you're going to have a good at bat. He's patient, but he also knows the game real good. He's got real good instincts at the plate. He's able to take his walks, but he's not looking for walks. He's able to drive the ball through the gaps. You just know when you pencil him in every day, you know exactly what you're going to get from him. He's not going to waste any at-bats. He's just not going to give at-bats away. He's a grinder. He's that type of hitter.
Right. Now, from the standpoint of sort of evaluating him and things that maybe you've worked with him on in the past, what would you say? I mean, is there one area that's kind of sticks out where you think maybe he needs some improvement in to keep working? I mean, obviously, all young players need to continue to work and improve on their game, but anything specifically with Brad?
With Brad, I only had a year of work with him, and he was between AA and AAA. He already had his game routine, his pregame routine, all the stuff that we try to develop with kids at the lower level, that by the time they get to AA, we just want to be there and talk to them on what they need if they're having trouble with their approach. So with Brad, we just, we didn't really work mechanically on anything. He already had his drill works from what he's been doing in the past. We would just talk situation and talk hitting. We didn't necessarily work, you need to work on pulling the ball. You need to work on hitting off the field. He's able to drive the ball to all fields, gap power, occasional pop, some pop down the line might come a little bit once he gets adjusted to whatever league he's in. And he was able to put up numbers at every league the Blue Jays put him in.
Yeah.
So when I would come in town, we would just basically talk about how he's doing, things that he's working on. If he asks us some questions, I'd give him, where, I'd known him since he came in. I just knew him for the year. And you actually learn a lot. You learn more from the players than anything else, just listening and talking, especially the ones who compete every at-bat like he does.
Gotcha. I mean, from what you're describing, the type of hitter he is and sort of his work ethic, I mean, would you agree that, potentially he could be an everyday player at the big league level?
He could be an everyday player, at second base. He was at third base with us in the minor leagues a couple of years ago. I saw him at second base. They were trying to decide where to put him. It's just going to be, is he going to be able to handle the everyday? I think his bat will be okay once he gets in the lineup every day. If not, he'll be a good guy to come off the bench. Is he going to be able to have enough range at second base and things like that and turn double plays?
Gotcha.
I think was the big question. But, his work ethic, he just keeps getting better. You can't really compare. It's hard to compare guys, especially, when they're in the minor leagues and you say, well, this guy could be the next. But you never know. Even when they think a guy is ready, you still don't know because in baseball, you call a guy up who you think is not ready as a fill-in, and he ends up staying 15 years in the big leagues. And then you call up a guy who you think is ready, and he's an up-and-down guy.
Yeah, I hear you.
There's no exact science to it. You just feel what the big league team needs and what they need. And because it's all about winning in the big leagues.
Right. I hear you. Well, let me ask you this. Switching gears again. I mean, you're a hitting coordinator. I know that your hitting is probably always at the top of your mind. When you think hitting in the big leagues, I mean, who do you like watching hit at the plate that's playing nowadays?
I just like Hitro just because just he's exciting to watch. That's the guy that I always pay to go.
Gotcha.
Play the game. From a hitting standpoint, Albert Pujols, of course, guys who could do everything, just average power, approach. Miguel Cabrera is unbelievable. When I was a player in AAA with the Marlins, this guy was in AA at 20 years old, and it was just like, wow. I mean, he was able to do things at that age that you were just like, this, 2 strikes, he just lined the ball over first base, and then early in the count, he's able to pull the ball over the fence, and it's just guys who are complete hitters that are not one-dimensional. So I would say Pujols, Cabrera, I played with Adrian Gonzalez with the Marlins, and he was the same type of hitter as Miguel. It was just fun to watch. Way advanced mentally at that age as far as approach and no fear of failure. They handled failure at a young age. So guys who do that and handle the grind. But I would say Pujols and Cabrera for sure. And I love now Joey Votto is unbelievable. He's a full maintenance guy, man.
Right. Well, hey, Anthony, I want to thank you for taking some time to answer some questions for me tonight. And good luck this year down at spring training and throughout the summer.
I appreciate it, man. Have fun talking.
All righty. Thanks, man.